Welcome to the HR Spoonfuls podcast, brought to you by Andera HR, the home of Help Desk for HR.com and AI for HRHub.com, where you can find assistance from qualified human resources professionals and learn about all things related to the use of artificial intelligence solutions for your HR department. Now listen in as your AI-driven hosts, Alex and Ivy, discuss interesting and current human resources topics, one spoonful at a time.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. You know, today's deep dive is something I think we can all relate to. Employee reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Whether we're giving them or getting them,
Right.
We've all been there. And honestly, sometimes they can feel like a bit of a chore,
Like, totally. Just another box to tick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I recently stumbled across this training manual,
Okay.
and it's called, get this, Conducting Annual Employee Reviews.
Okay.
Like, super original, right?
Mhm.
But it really got me thinking about this whole process in a new light.
Interesting. What stood out to you?
Well, it's not just about filling out that dreaded form once a year and being done with it.
Right.
It's about fostering a culture of feedback and growth.
I like that. Because the manual actually starts by really digging into the why of reviews.
Oh, interesting.
Why even bother?
Yeah, good point.
And it stresses that it's not just about, like you said, ticking those boxes.
Yeah.
It's about creating a more engaged and, get this, happier workforce.
Wow, happier. That's not a word you usually associate with performance reviews.
Right. But think about it. Imagine if you were getting consistent feedback, not just this once-a-year thing.
Mm-hmm.
How much more confident would you feel in your role?
That's so true. Having those regular check-ins would make a huge difference.
Huge.
And this manual, it really dives into this idea that reviews, when done right,
Yeah.
can actually boost morale.
Absolutely.
And it helps employees figure out what they're good at and, let's be honest, they might need to work on.
Exactly. Strengths and weaknesses all out in the open.
And that's where, according to this manual, having a well-defined process is so crucial.
Okay, I'm with you. So how do they break it down?
It's like, think of it like a roadmap, right?
Okay, roadmap. I like that.
You lay out those clear benchmarks right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And here's the crucial part. You get everyone on board with those expectations right from the start.
Buy-in from the beginning. That makes sense.
Right. And they really hammer home this point about, remember those regular check-ins?
Yeah. Keep the conversation going.
Exactly. So instead of this big, scary evaluation once a year, you're having these smaller conversations throughout.
Like a continuous feedback loop.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's a fantastic approach.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off that once-a-year thing, and it gives everyone a chance to adjust course along the way,
Yeah, course
It's
correct.
all about ongoing dialogue,
Yeah.
ongoing development, which, ultimately benefits everybody,
For sure. I mean, it makes you wonder why more companies don't do this.
right? It seems like a no-brainer.
It does. So, we always talk about work quality, productivity, all those usual metrics.
Standard stuff.
But this manual, it goes beyond that.
Okay, so what else are they looking at?
It digs into some other really interesting categories.
Like what? I'm intrigued.
For example, they have a whole section on work style.
Work style.
And their point is, it's not about forcing everyone into the same box.
Right. Everyone's different.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that different people, they thrive in different ways.
Oh, absolutely. Some people are at their best in a team, bouncing ideas around.
Totally.
And then you have others who, they need their own space, their own quiet time to really focus.
100%. And understanding those nuances,
Yeah.
it can make a world of difference in how you manage and motivate your team.
Oh, without a doubt. And I'd even argue that recognizing those different work styles can actually improve your team dynamics overall.
Oh, absolutely. And then on top of that, there's resource management.
Okay, now we're talking. That's a big one.
Right. And they don't just frame it in terms of saving the company money.
Oh, interesting. So how do they approach it?
It's about how those employees who are really proactive
Mm-hmm.
about finding efficiencies, whether it's time, materials, streamlining processes,
Right.
they actually end up benefiting everyone.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And it's about empowering your team to really take ownership. you know?
Totally. To think beyond just their own little tasks.
Exactly. And then, of course, we can't forget those all-important soft skills.
Ah, yes, the soft skills,
Mhm.
communication, teamwork, all that good stuff.
Yes. And this manual really, really stresses how critical those are to a company's success.
Well, and rightfully so. I mean, let's be honest, those skills can make or break a team.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you think about it, reduced conflict,
Hmm.
better outcomes on projects,
For sure.
a more positive work environment. I mean, it all ties back to those interpersonal skills.
It's all connected.
Exactly. And this manual makes this point that I thought was so interesting.
Okay, what's that?
It says that having those strong communication skills is directly tied to your bottom line.
It makes sense, though, right?
It does.
I mean, when people can clearly communicate with each other, when they can work together without, wanting to pull their hair out,
Right, right.
and when they feel comfortable sharing their ideas, I mean, everyone wins.
It's such a good point.
And you know what? It all comes back to those employee reviews we were talking about.
It's true. And what I found helpful was they actually give you tips on how to assess those soft skills, in a way that's actually useful during reviews.
Oh, I know what you mean. Because it's been one thing to say, yeah, this person's a good communicator.
Exactly.
But how do you actually measure that?
Right, right.
This manual, though, it suggests, instead of those general statements,
Yeah.
focus on specific situations.
Oh, interesting.
Like instead of saying John's a great communicator,
Right.
you could say something like John consistently gives really clear updates to the team, which, keeps everyone in the loop.
Oh, I love that. That's so much more helpful than just like a vague, he's good at talking.
Exactly. Concrete examples.
Yes. Okay, so speaking of feedback, I have to say the part of this manual that really got me thinking was when they delved into the psychology behind all of this.
Oh, the psychology of review. Okay, yeah.
Especially all those common pitfalls, right?
Yeah, the pitfalls.
Because we all have the best intentions, but sometimes we fall into these traps.
That's those unconscious biases. We've all heard about them, but this manual actually brings them to life with actual workplace examples.
It's so true. Like, for example, the contrast effect. Have you ever dealt with that?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
It's so easy to compare employees to one another
Right.
instead of looking at their progress, against the standards we've set.
Exactly. And that can be so demoralizing for people.
Oh, totally. It's like, well, you're doing a good job, but Sarah over there,
Right. It's like, come on.
it just creates this unnecessary sense of competition.
Instead of celebrating what each person brings to the table.
Exactly. And, another big one is the similar to me effect.
Oh, tell me you haven't fallen for that one.
Oh, I'm sure I have. It's human nature, right?
Mm.
To gravitate towards people who are like us.
Of course. Birds of a feather.
But, when it comes to reviews, we really have to be aware of that bias because we might unintentionally favor those who are more similar to us, even if their work, isn't quite there yet.
That's such a good point. It's about recognizing those biases and making sure that we're being fair and objective.
Absolutely. Objectivity is key.
And then there's the halo horn effect.
Oh, that one's a classic. It's like that one amazing presentation just overshadows everything else.
Or, on the flip side, that one mistake
Right.
overshadows all the good they've done.
And this manual, they have this great case study.
Really?
Remember Stella? She was always crushing her targets.
Yeah.
But then she had this one, not so great client interaction.
Oh, no.
And she ended up with a mediocre review.
Oh, poor Stella.
It really highlights how important it is to look at the whole picture.
The long game, not
Yeah.
just one isolated incident.
Exactly. And then, on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the central tendency.
Oh, yeah. Everyone gets a trophy.
Exactly. And, it might seem like you're avoiding conflict
Mm-hmm.
by not giving anyone, too high or too low of a rating.
Right.
But honestly, it's not really fair to anyone, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, the high performers, they're not getting the recognition they deserve.
Exactly.
And the ones who might be struggling, they're not getting the guidance they need.
It all comes back to, clear, honest feedback.
Communication.
Exactly. Which this manual really emphasizes is key to those really effective reviews.
It's so true. And now for the part of reviews that I think makes everyone a little bit nervous.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
The elephant in the room. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah, rewards. They can be a bit, I don't know, tricky to navigate.
It's that fine line between, motivating your team and making sure everyone feels appreciated.
Seriously. But this manual, it took a really interesting approach, I thought.
What really jumped out at me was how they tied it all back to the company's success,
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this.
So they suggest setting these really clear, measurable quarterly targets for revenue.
Okay, so starting with that big picture.
Exactly. Aligning everything with those overall company goals.
Makes sense. But then how do you, bring it down to the individual level?
Well, that's the key, right? They talk about translating those big targets
Mhm.
into individual employee goals.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not just this abstract thing anymore.
Hmm.
Everyone knows exactly how their work, their daily tasks, contribute to those larger goals.
I love that. No more guessing games.
Exactly. And transparency is huge.
Hmm.
The manual is big on that. No surprises for employees when it comes to how they're being assessed.
Right. Everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. And it creates this sense of shared purpose, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we're all in this together.
Way more motivating than just working in your own little silo.
100%. But I have to say, the thing that really resonated with me, the thing they called the secret sauce in this manual.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued. The secret sauce, huh?
Yeah, and it wasn't any of the stuff we just talked about.
Really? Okay, I'm even more curious now. What was it?
It was communication.
Communication.
I know, you'd think it'd be more complicated than that.
You'd think.
But they really stressed that it's not just about the task-based stuff, the, get this done by this time kind of communication.
Okay, yeah, it's got to be deeper than that.
It's about those regular, meaningful conversations.
I like where you're going with this.
Like really taking the time to understand what makes your employees tick.
Asking those questions. What motivates you? What kind of feedback do you need?
Yeah.
What are your challenges?
Yes. And this creates that trust. It makes people feel heard,
It's about those human connections, which, let's be real, we all crave.
100%. And when people feel valued, they do better work. They're more engaged.
Absolutely. It's a win-win for everyone. And one thing this manual mentioned that I thought was a really cool idea?
What's that?
Mentorship.
Oh, mentorship. That's a good one.
It's about taking that extra step, going beyond just being a manager and becoming a mentor, someone who's really invested in their team's growth.
Sharing your knowledge, leading by example, being that sounding board.
Exactly. Creating that space where people feel safe to, experiment, make mistakes, learn.
Because that's how we grow, right?
Exactly. It's all about continuous learning and improvement.
There's this quote from the manual that really stuck with me. It said, research indicates that workers have 3 prime needs: interesting work, recognition for doing a good job, and being let in on things that are going on in the company.
It really gets to the heart of what matters, doesn't it?
It does. It's not just about the paycheck.
No, it's about so much more than that.
And that's what this whole deep dive into employee reviews has really highlighted for me.
It's about recognizing the human element.
It's about creating a workplace where everyone feels valued, supported, inspired.
Because when people feel good about where they work and who they work with, amazing things can happen.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been great chatting with you about this.
You too. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, we hope you found this deep dive insightful. Remember, even small changes can make a big difference. So what one thing will you do differently after today? Until next time, this has been The Deep Dive, helping you navigate the world of knowledge, one source at a time.
Thanks for listening to HR Spoonfuls. For more episodes like this one, drop by helpdeskforhr.com or AIforHRhub.com and subscribe to our newsletter to receive HR updates and notices when new podcast episodes are posted. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and will join us again soon.